welcome to another edition of Local Focus. I'm your host, Sebastian Noel. I know we're in the middle of high school football season right now, but thought I'd change it up a little bit since it is MLB playoff time. Hopefully, by the time this airs, my Braves are well on their way to defending their crown. But I wanted to have a baseball guest, and I knew last season when I did my first Santiago game, I knew exactly who that guest was going to be because it is the energizer battery that makes that team go, their catcher, Danny Santiago from Santiago. Welcome to the program, man.
Thank you for having me on. Good
So let's start there because, like, whether it's be from the dugout to the on-deck circle to the batter's box, your energy, man, it's a vibe. So talk about that. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just, like, sparks, whether it's from something my teammate does or something I do. I mean, I kind of find it energizing, as you say. Like, it just gets all of us going, and when we play like that, we play better, so. And
what does it do to you? I mean, we'll talk about how it amps up your teammates, but what does it do to you? What kind of mindset does it put you in, knowing that you're all energy like that?
For me, it kind of makes me like locked in, like focused. Like, all right, like maybe my teammate made a great play, and like, all right, let me try to do something like that, and let's just keep on working together to win.
When did it start?
A little bit halfway into like Metro, where it just like. I knew I had to lock in, and like we all had to lock in to get a good spot into the playoffs, and so we kind of just had fun out there, and that was my way of having fun.
Right. And when did you kind of realize that, like, hey, this amps my teammates up too? Like, my guys feed off this energy. When did you realize that was happening?
I kind of figured that like a couple of my own teammates were doing some of the stuff that I would do. It's just obviously I kind of did it to a more extreme level. And I did get a little bit of feedback from my coaches to like tone it down a little bit, but like they said they loved the energy and all that. So
it gave me energy in the broadcast booth, and I'm upstairs. Like, it's a vibe, man. I love it. Like, and the shades that go with it, right? Yeah. Like, you're rocking the shades. What's that? First of all, how many shades are in that collection? Like,
as of right now, one. I lost a pair, but I got a new pair quickly. Okay. So I mean, I had to have a backup. So
and so like, your teammates talk to you about like, yeah, man, like we need this energy. Like,
we do. I mean, because I've heard it from a couple teammates where like it gets them going and like it just fires us all up to play better.
Right. And baseball players are kind of a little different anyway, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, whether it's like the rattling of the hat on a 2-2 count with two, like. Baseball guys are different anyway, right? Why? Yeah. Why are baseball guys so different?
I think it's because it's a different pace as of basketball and football where, like, everything's fast. And so, like, I don't know, some superstitions maybe, but, like, I think it goes with the game perfectly. So.
Right. You kind of have to create your own energy because maybe the game is played at a pace that's different, right?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Like, did you see anyone else doing that? Whether it be in the major leagues or in college, or was that just kind of your personality anyway as a kid? Or like, tell me about that.
It's kind of funny because as a kid, like off the field, I'm kind of like reserved to myself but quiet, and on the field, I mean, like I'm just having fun out there. So I mean, it was definitely shocking to me and to other people, but like it was fun. So
like, okay, so the thing that drives me nuts about baseball, right? Like I've been a baseball fan my whole life, right? But as your typical old guy, get off my lawn guy that's like, just put your head down and run the bases, or don't do bat flips, and like, and to me, like, I love that about the modern day player, right? Like I'm a Braves guy, so I love of course Ronald Acuna and Ozzie and those guys, and when they pimp a home run, I think that's cool, but there's certainly that fan base that's like. Baseball players shouldn't act like that. Put your head down when you run the bases. Don't disrespect the pitcher. Like, where do you come out as a player, as a baseball player? Where do you come out on all that nonsense?
I mean, there's definitely a point where you have to be respectful to like to your opponent, but I think at the same time, like you're allowed to have fun out there because at the end of the day, it's a kid's game.
And, like, you're hitting a round ball with a round bat, and people don't realize how hard that is, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I got a hold of one, and I would pimp the hell out of any home run I hit. And I don't care what fan would have a problem, and if a pitcher wanted to drill me in the next at bat, I wouldn't care because, like, baseball's hard, right?
Yeah.
And, like, so the modern player, I think, will only help the game grow. Like, what do you think about that?
I think definitely that it'll help the game grow because I've heard from my football player friends or, like, other friends where it's just like baseball's not that fun, But then when you see like Ronald Acuna Jr., other players like that making the game more fun, it draws in more people to watch. So
Right, and you touched on that, right? Like, I think you see a lot of basketball players. It's easy to recruit your guys to come play basketball, right? But yeah, you get that feedback is like, baseball, I don't know, like, right? There's always like, it's almost like it's stuck in the past, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not the cool sport, right? And I think baseball does that to itself. Like, I mean, what do you think?
definitely, but I think once it gets that more attention, that people will see that it's just as fun as basketball or football. So I think it's heading in the right direction.
And that's what drew me to you, to have you here. And that's what kind of drew me to that bunch last year. Because, like, man, these guys are having fun. Like, this team looks like they're having fun. Talk about that. I mean, you look like you guys are having fun.
We definitely had a close team last year and the year before. But, I mean, during practice, we'd play music. And, like, if a funny song came on, we'd just start dancing or something like that. Like, we always tried to keep it a game and not a job necessarily.
Right.
So...
And do you think that helps you guys? I mean, how?
I think it does because whenever we play like tight games, like in the playoffs, where like it's just a game, like let's just go out there, play fun, have loose. Like it definitely helped us prepare for big games like that.
You know, have you had opponents have you ever had a coach on the other side like look like, what are these guys doing? Why are they having so much fun? Like you get that vibe ever or not really?
I have. I know a couple of the La Cueva guys, which happen to be my buddies. They're like, a couple of our coaches didn't find it fun, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, I think we're just playing baseball.
Right. I know. I love that. I love that. I mean, and that's the only way the game's going to grow, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love to watch baseball year round, and so when you get a chance, thanks to MLB Network, right, you get to watch some Dominican League games, you get to watch some international games, and it's like they're playing a different sport, man. It's a vibe. You look in the crowd, and it's whether it's the instruments and the party that's in the crowd, like they still get it. Like that game that they're playing and what we're doing, it seems like two different things, and that's why the sport is so popular in those places. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So when I was 13, I think I played a tournament in Chicago, and there was a Puerto Rico team, and when we played them, it was a parade in the stands.
Right.
They were just so fun, enthusiastic, and like I think maybe I drew a little bit from that, but it was awesome to watch their fans, because it was like I get to watch them play and I get to see their fans.
All right, we'll take our first break. We'll be back with Danny Santiago of the Sandia Matadors. We want to talk about their season from last year and much more. We'll be right back.
Cheshire will set Chris Moore one more time. And the block did the job. Blocked by Carpenter. Kept up. Tough angle. Macias. No, it's dumped over instead by Kirkland. Cheshire, she'll set Chris Moore again. She's blocked again. Carpenter. Cheshire. Chris Moore. Another swing. This time she'll dump it over. Cheshire, she'll set in the middle for Carpenter. And she puts it away. That was the longest rally of the set, and it still goes to the Huskies. 24-14. Set point, Huskies.
But it falls right to the feet of St. Pius. Opportunity here. Vaughn. Spinaroonie. Shot. Score! 1941. Leo Vaughn gets a second.
Pepper. He's got Cordova again, and Brody Whitaker blows that play up so fast from the edge. For Babinski shut up and a goal.
Tries to dummy it through. It's loose. Opportunity. And it worm burns in.
Cheshire will set Chris Moore. Yes! The freshman connects again. Right up the middle. Single coverage. Oh, what a catch. See you later. Turn off the lights. Goodbye, baby. Touchdown. Rams.
Pardon me for Lozano. This time, Culpepper. He's got a man. Caught. It's again Tommy Lopez. Lopez breaks a man. And Lopez not stopped at the 3 this time. Tommy Lopez. He's got a huge touchdown.
That snap. Mariano picks it up. Great protection. Going for a home run ball down the middle of the field. It's underthrown. Oh, what a catch! A catch and run for the touchdown for Trayvon Williams.
All right, we're talking some baseball with Danny Santiago of the Sandia Matadors. We talked about your energy and your vibe, and just we talked about baseball a lot and the way the game's being played and all that. So I want to move to Sandia baseball now. Obviously, last season, I mean, you guys had a great season last year. So talk about that.
It was definitely a season to remember because we lost a lot of our big guys that were going on to college, like Jacob Komatz, Aiden May, Stuart Jaramillo. So I mean, like, it was definitely like a different vibe, like at practice. But I think with the new guys that came up, we kind of came together as a team and like formed a new chemistry. And so I think that kind of like upholstered us to have the season we had.
Right. It's the first year of also coaches getting to make their own schedule. So right off the bat, you and La Cueva to open the season. I mean, that's usually not how we open the season, right? So I'm sure you guys were pumped for that.
Yeah, I mean, after we lost to them the year before on the doubleheader, it was kind of disappointing. But I mean, it wasn't really a redemption game. It was like let's start this season off on the right foot against a really good team that we know that has a really good chance of going far. So,
and I remember I was broadcasting a basketball game that night actually. So I couldn't go to the game, but I got some reports that like, man, you should see the crowd for an opening day game. It was nuts. So talk about the environment there for the season opener. Usually a season opener, it's just parents.
Yeah,
right? But it was a huge crowd.
I mean, those type of games are kind of bring out more energy in me because like it's so riled up. There's so much noise going on, and like you're kind of just on the field playing baseball. So I mean, those are the games you like to play in.
Didn't end the way you guys wanted that day, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so there's that, right? So that's the downside of opening the season against those guys is like, okay, here we go again, right? Well, so take us into the locker room or into practice the next day. What's the mindset? Okay, all right, we got an L early.
After the game, we kind of sat in the dugout. We like talked like we played a good game. It wasn't the outcome we expected, but we played really well, and they played a little bit better. So I mean, there's not much you could do about that, but just get grinding the next day.
Right, and then you guys went on a pretty good roll after that. So talk about that.
Yeah, so I think our last loss was Rio Rancho before heading into the district season, and so we kind of just wanted to have a clean slate and say like, although we didn't have our best non-district season, like let's go out and make a bang in district.
Right, and obviously that's always a very good baseball district, the district you play in. So I mean, to talk about that, like there's usually not easy wins in that district. I mean, I know they say, oh yeah, you're supposed to win your home games, but that's easier said than done against teams in that district. Talk about how tough that district is.
Yeah, I mean, we start off with Farmington, and then I think we play PV, and then La Cueva, and then Eldo, that's West Mesa. I mean, it's not really, there's no bye week, if so.
Right.
Like, it's just, we got to go out and compete every week because upsets happen. You never know who can beat who.
And then the district doubleheaders make it tougher even on weekends. When you guys play doubleheaders, right? So that's tough. You got to go. Let's say you go to Farmington for 2. You're going to see an ace in one of those games, right? So how much tougher is it to play those district doubleheaders than say just the one games?
Those are pretty challenging because you have to stay mentally locked in from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Right. And especially on those road games where you go to Farmington, it's a 3-hour bus ride. So, I mean, you got to not mentally lock in too soon because then you could be drained by, like, the second inning of the second game.
Right. And so fast forward to Saturday. There's a Saturday in the season. And I will admit I'm a basketball dude, right? So I'm at a basketball tournament at La Cueva, but I was well aware of what was going on. So one of my buddies is playing on his son's playing for the team, and I say, hey, why don't you go outside? He is playing La Cueva. Why don't you go outside and go check the score? Go see what's going on, right? So I was aware of what was going on, and you guys put it on him that weekend at their place, 9 to 5, 11 to 5, doubleheader sweep. Like that's a big deal every time it happens. Talk about that.
So initially, when we lost to them opening day, we got kind of stung, and then when we lost to them in Metro, that hurt even more because we were confident.
Right.
And so going into that, I remember Friday we practiced, and Jordan Martinez, the starting pitcher for Game 1, was asked what jersey he wanted to wear, and he said black because he wanted it to be their funeral.
All right. See?
And so we were all like tired of being like the little brother and the big brothers like scenario. So like we were fed up, and so it kind of felt good to switch the tables a little.
And 9-5, 11-5, from what I heard, it wasn't even that close. Those games were never in doubt, right? Like you guys started hitting right away. You put it on them pretty quickly. I mean, talk about how that kind of propelled you forward as a team.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely huge because we thought like, who could we lose to? Because we had always lost to La Cueva, and that was our one like, well, what if we play La Cueva, we might not win, but like since we beat them, we were confident as ever.
Right. So it's a good mental hurdle cleared, right? And we talked about that. Heck, we talked about that on a football broadcast a few weeks ago on Proview Networks, where Volcano Vista's playing Cleveland. They can't get over that hurdle. They could never beat Cleveland, right? So there's obviously a hurdle there, right? La Cueva has an established program over there. Obviously, we know what they've done, right? Yeah. And you guys put it on them. That's a big deal, right? You got to ride that wave into the playoffs, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, because it was definitely huge where we thought like any big high-ranked team we could beat. So, I mean, going into the playoffs, we obviously thought we could beat Carlsbad. Obviously, that didn't happen.
We'll get to that.
But, I mean, it definitely helped us with Rio Rancho and then facing them again in the semis.
But what's that rivalry like? The weird part is now, like, you guys are all friends.
Yeah.
Like, rivalries 20 years ago, when La Cueva played El Dorado, they really hated each other. When Sandia played, heck, this is how old I am. Del Norte was good at baseball, believe it or not, right? So when I was going to school, right? And when Del Norte played, like those kids didn't like each other. Like they were real rivalries. But now you guys are like all buddies too, right? Like you guys all get along. So how does that work in the rivalry, man? When before the game and after the game, you guys are buddies, but when you're on the diamond, it's different, right?
So it's kind of funny because most of those guys that are on varsity, like we grew up playing club ball together. So like we've all been friends. But then I remember freshman year, I stepped in and I was just bred into this Sandia baseball rivalry. Like, right. I mean, off the fields, we're all friends. We talk a little crap with each other, but like, we all know that we're playing good people. So I mean,
but like, if it's game week, like, let's say you have friends on that side, right? Well, when does the texting stop? When do the phone calls stop? When does the hanging out stop? Knowing that maybe you have a doubleheader on Saturday, when does the communication stop?
My best guess would probably like around Monday.
Monday? It's all right. It's game week. Got to get locked in.
Yeah, because I mean, we both know that it's big games that are coming up. So I mean, they obviously want to be the best they can to play against us, and vice versa. We want it.
I do want to get into the playoffs, right? And we'll talk about the playoffs. I think we're going to do another break here, and when we get back with Danny, we'll get into the playoffs and what this year has in store. We'll be right back. All right, let's get into the playoffs with Danny Santiago of the Sandia Matadors. Mayfield first, right? So obviously, because you beat La Cueva, you guys got a real nice seed, right? Yeah. Things are looking up and up, right? So talk about your mindset as a team going into the playoffs.
I mean, we definitely thought that since we were the number 2 seed, that like it wouldn't be that much competition going in. But I mean, it kind of hurt us because we did drop a game, which forced us to go to a game 3. But I think we we kind of battled through adversity after that dropped game, and we said, like, we're not going home.
Right. I'm not a fan of the 3-game thing at the first round. I know why they put it in place. I know because there's some teams that traditionally, some teams that were much, much lower seeds, right? But they had one ace, and you throw your ace against a 1 seed, and you could knock them out, right? So I know why they put it in. I would rather see the 3-game series in the championship, but that's a story for another day. But you guys dropped one to Mayfield, so that probably a little bit of a wake-up call, right?
Yeah, I mean, we even switched jerseys after we lost the second game.
No, you're a baseball player. Of course you did.
So, I mean,
right?
every superstition.
Right,
yeah.
That's...
So, I mean, but after that, we're all like, we realized how quickly our dream could end
right.
with one loss. So I think that kind of carried us through Rio Rancho and through La Cueva.
Right. So familiar foes the rest of the way. Did that help? Teams that you've seen, guys that you know, probably guys that you're at the cages with, right? Rio Rancho first. Did that help that you're playing familiar foes?
It did because, I mean, I went to middle school with all the Rio Rancho guys. So, I mean, like, I know we all kind of knew, like, what to expect from them, especially the 2 previous times we played them.
Right.
And so I think that was a huge benefit.
And then you get La Cueva one more time, right? I guess it wouldn't be a tournament any other way, right?
Yeah.
You knew you're probably going to see them one more time. So talk about the vibe going into that game.
Going into that, we were all kind of not really nervous, but a little antsy because, like, it's La Cueva, so, like, we know we're always going to get their best, and even though we might have not gotten their best previously in the year, we knew we were going to get it this time.
And plus, those 2 wins, like, I would imagine it's a normal thought. Like, oh man, 3 in a row. Like, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times in a row, right?
Yeah, because even when we played the doubleheader and they had bases loaded a couple of times in 7th inning, I was like, here they come. But I mean, with La Cueva, it's always fun to play them.
Let's get by La Cueva 3-1, and then before the championship game. I mean, what was getting by La Cueva in the playoffs? Tell me about that.
I mean, it kind of. Once we won and we knew we were going to the championship, we kind of like, we have a really good shot of like really winning. And so, I mean, the next day we kind of prepared mentally to like lock in, but obviously we didn't get the job done.
Right. Came out flat. I mean, that's kind of what Jesus and I noticed in the broadcast booth. And I think we even mentioned in the broadcast, we're like, well, they think maybe the championship was yesterday against La Cueva. Did you feel that? And I know you still brought the energy, and I saw it, but it almost felt like there was, and obviously Carlsbad's pitching had a lot to do with that, but did it feel flat on the field as well? I mean, looking back, now that you've had the gift of time to look back on it, I mean, what was it that day, you think? Or was it just you ran into an ace and he was mowing him down?
Yeah, I think going into the game, warming up, we were all really hyped, like amped, like we're in the championship, and I think what really did us was they put a 4 spot in the first inning, and we were all like, shoot.
Yeah, those crooked numbers early, they hurt, right?
Yeah, and so, I mean, like, looking back on it, I think maybe someone gets on base, that gets us riled up. Like, someone makes a diving play, that gets us riled up in the dugout. Like, so. How
tough is it to a guy that's dealing, I mean, I think it's fair to say with 2 pitches, right?
Yeah.
A fastball and an off-speed pitch, a changeup, and you know, he was working that side of the plate. How tough of an adjustment is that as a hitter? And up and down the lineup, you know he's attacking you with 2 pitches. How hard is it to adjust to that?
I mean, going into the game, we didn't expect to see a lefty, so I mean that was kind of a curveball already. But I think we kind of we didn't communicate well with how to adjust our at bats, and so I think it kind of that's what kind of killed us a little.
Right. Now the great news is you have a ton of guys coming back from that team, right? So talk about that.
Yeah, we're definitely really excited because I mean we lost 3 seniors, so we're really excited to get back on the field and actually finish the job this time.
And so what does that look like in the off season from the end of last season to when the season begins? What's the work that goes in?
So we definitely, when we sat down in May, we kind of, as with the coaching staff, we kind of sat down and we kind of pointed out the obvious with Carlsbad and us, and like they looked bigger than us, they had more energy than us, like they did more stuff in the off season that helped them in season. So we kind of sat down and like prepared ourselves to make like weight room plans, conditioning, and so I think that kind of helped us prepare is helping us prepare for the next upcoming season.
Right. I love asking basketball players how many shots they get up in a day during the off season. It always intrigues me, right? So I guess the comparison to that would be how much cage time do you put in?
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the comparison, right? So how much cage work goes into the off season?
Definitely a lot. So I think at school we probably hit for like an hour, and then after school we all kind of go to our cages, and we probably hit for like an hour and a half, 2 hours there. And so I think that probably like 300-400 swings a day, maybe.
Okay, all right. And so baseball's a little different in that regard too, right? Because I mean, yeah, the cage work you can do alone, right? But anything else, you almost need more guys out there, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's tee work or you as a catcher. Obviously, if you want to improve that craft, then someone's got to be throwing to you, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you improve that part of your game, right? Just your signal calling, just your catching, your throwing out base runners, things like the rest of your game. What's the work like that? What goes into that?
Yeah, so we definitely do bullpens and like pitching stuff to make sure like we're staying good and not getting worse. But I mean, catching wise, it's majority that's like 40% myself and then 60% with teammates.
Right. And you're playing at the next level already, so that's pretty cool. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I sat down with Coach Carrasco at Lamar, and the things he has for his program, it just looks amazing, and I can't wait to get there.
And I mean, that's one thing that has impressed me about the state of New Mexico and baseball. Our kids go to the next level. At baseball, there is no doubt. I mean, I think sometimes they don't get the attention that they deserve, but whether you look at your guys' program, you look at a La Cueva, obviously Coach Murphy's program, Coach Griego, I mean, who I'm a huge Orlando Griego fan, what his program has been able to do, I mean, we send kids to play at the next level, right?
Yeah.
So what's the goal?
Try to go as far as I can playing baseball. I'd like to go to a 4-year school, get my education, and then see how far we could go with that.
And then before all that, I'm sure you guys have some unfinished business, right? Is that going to be the rallying cry this year, right? You were so close. What's the battle cry this year?
Yeah,
For the Matadors. What's going to be on the back of the shirt, on the back of the gear, right?
Honestly, I don't know yet. Probably got to talk with our boosters. But I mean, 2 years ago we fell short in the semis. Last year we fell short in the championship. So hopefully we can turn around and actually finish the job.
Right. Well, we'll be watching. Danny, I really appreciate you coming in. It was really my treat to get to meet you. The energy, man, keep it up. It's the future of baseball, right?
Yeah.
Guys that actually look like they enjoy playing.
Yeah.
Like your teammates feed off of it. I fed off of it. And it was really nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching, everybody, and good night.